Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 230, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram. Today is Wednesday. It is February 1st, so yay, we're in February. Sort of been snowing off and on today, but not horribly. It's not, I don't know, what is it? It's 36 degrees currently, because you needed to know that, right? Anyway, welcome. Thank you for being here. It's been a little over a week and a half since I recorded last because I have been away, and I am going to talk all about my trip to Florida and back and all of the various and sundry stops that we made on our way down and back and what we did. I'll tell you all about that in 10%. I'm not going to start with that because I've got a lot of other things to share with you today. I have a full page of show notes. And I have got a lot of knitting because, let me tell you, the car trip, that was a lot of driving. I would say we were in the car probably, I don't know, at least 15 hours down and back altogether. So that's like at least 30 hours in the car. Probably actually a little bit longer than that. Anyway, I had a lot of car knitting time and other knitting time because while we were at my mom's, that's mostly what I did. I sat and I knit a lot. So anyway, like I said, I'll tell you all about the trip during 10%, although I will probably pop in a little bit of information here and there as it applies to what I'm showing you as we go. So let's get started. I want to start out by saying I did not get a chance to check the Ravelry board to see if anybody introduced themselves since the last time I recorded. So if you did, I'm going to just give you a general hello right now, and I will try to remember to check that before I record next time and actually say hello to you specifically. I'm sorry, I'm getting bad about that. I don't know why. I think it's because I have so much else I know I need to talk about, and then I kind of forget about that until I've already started to record. So that's not really the best timing for that. But anyway, welcome, whether you're new or have been here for a while. I'm glad you're here with me today. So anyway, let's get started. I've got finished objects to show you first, and that's very exciting because I did finish a bunch of things while I was away. And the first thing I finished was my Christmas Eve cast-on socks. So yay, they're done. I'm really happy with them. This is the first one I knit, and this is the second one. And I will explain to you why I know this, well, aside from the fact that I knit them, so I know that. This is the first one, yeah. I started with the speckly part of the sock blank. So this was one of my happenstance sock blanks with sparkle, and it was in the Welcome to Whoville colorway that I was doing over Christmas last year. So I started with this one, and so it's a lot of the speckled going into the other colors, and then I did the pink heel. Now the last time you saw this heel, it looked a little bit different, so I will explain that in a moment. But if you remember, I said it was fitting me a little tightly, and I realized it's because I made the heel too shallow. I was only allowing 2 inches for my heel instead of the 3 that I should have been allowing, which was just a brain breakdown on my part, not doing the math right. So the second sock I knit, but I did my foot. I didn't completely do it differently. Like I didn't allow the full 3 inches for this, but I allowed about 2.5, and then I fudged it a little bit in the foot length. It works fine, and they both actually feel the same on my foot, but the heel on this one is closer to 3 inches deep than 2 inches deep. So once I finished this and it fit really nicely compared to the first one, I actually ripped out my heel back to the place where I had done the straight rounds, because I always do a number of straight rounds. I usually do about, I would say 5 maybe, probably about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch worth. I ripped back to that, and I just did more. So I added more straight rounds to give it more length before I started doing the decreases, and that made a big difference. Even though it's still not perfect, the next time I do an afterthought heel, I'll definitely be leaving, I'll be doing the math and the calculating for a full 3 inch heel, but these fit really well now. But that's why this heel looks different. It had been all pink, but since I ended up starting this sock with the pink that I ended on here, and then this one, the second one ended here, and it wasn't really a pink part. You can see it's just starting to get into the speckles. So that's what this heel now has, a little speckled point. I don't really care. I like them. I love how the colors worked out. I'm really loving knitting with sock blanks now. This is my second pair of sock blank socks. I've done a little shawl with a sock blank too. I'm getting used to it. The other thing I would not do again is the twisted rib with the sock blank yarn. It just, that you don't get the definition because the yarn is all kinky to begin with. And I'm sure like once these are washed, you know, soaked and dried and everything, that'll probably even out. But I don't think I would go to the trouble to do that again, just because I'm not a huge proponent of twisted rib, or not a proponent. I mean, it's fine. It's just not my thing. You know, I don't care if I have twisted rib or not. So it's a nice element in certain projects because it really draws attention to that, you know, that textural detail. But for my sock cuffs, I don't care if it's there or not. So probably won't do that again on any sock, quite frankly, unless it's specific to a pattern. So anyway, that was my first finished object. I used 69 grams of the yarn. So that's just over 300 yards of the yarn. I had maybe like a 10-inch bit left of the sock blank. I did use part of it in my granny stripes blanket already, so that's why I don't have it here to show you. It's somewhere in the bottom of that bag. But I actually do have a plan for the rest of that yarn. I'll tell you about that a little bit later. Hopefully I'll remember. Okay, so that was my first finished object. The next two finished objects are items that I cast on while I was away and finished while I was away. And they're the ones that I showed you in the on deck section of the last episode because I wanted to knit them as show samples. And so that's what I did. And actually each one I managed to knit in one day in the car. So on the first drive, which was 2 Saturdays ago, the 21st, I knit the hat. So this is the cherry soda / orange soda pattern by Thea Coleman. I knit it out of my cozy worsted weight base in the flurry colorway. So this is that skein that has the speckling that is in the snow day colorway, the self-striping snow day. I did the full skeins of just that speckle, and I love how it turned out because it's just so delicate. I find it very delicate to just have those little intermittent speckles in there and not, you know, covering the whole hat. The patterning, I will try this hat on. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the patterning super well. This hasn't been blocked. It doesn't, I don't think it super needs to be blocked, but it does have kind of a ridge between the pattern repeats and above. But you can see the patterning. I mean, it's a nice simple patterning, and it's a nice slouchy hat. I like slouchy hats. Now I'm saving this as a show sample for right now, but eventually it will probably join my hat rotation. Okay, and now my hair is going to be crazy because, oh my gosh, the air is so dry and I've just been staticky like crazy lately. I don't believe I made any modifications to this. I pretty much followed the pattern as it was written. I used US 5 and US 7 16-inch circulars. The only thing I think I might do differently if I did this hat again is I might go down to a US 6 for the body of the hat because I feel like it's just a little loose. My gauge is often looser when I'm knitting smaller circumference items in the round. So I think I could have afforded to have gone down to a 6. But again, it's not blocked, so once it's soaked and everything, it might poof out a little bit more and not be quite as drapey. I mean, I like the drape. For the slouchiness, the drape is actually very good. So anyway, finished hat. The next project I did was the Megga cowl. Remember, I did all those Megga cowls. I was calling them Megga gift cowls over Christmas for the 3 that I had made. And then that was, okay, so if you remember, when I was doing the 3 that I made over Christmas for my friends, I've only seen 1 of the 3 friends, so I still have 2 of them here. Anyway, I was using the Project Peace hat pattern sort of as a guideline, but I was modifying it to make it out of worsted weight yarn instead of fingering weight yarn. Or I'm sorry, bulky weight yarn instead of fingering weight yarn. What I ended up doing, aside from modifying it that way, is I also realized that I had completely read the stitch pattern incorrectly in the pattern. So what I ended up with didn't look at all like it was supposed to based on the original pattern. The slipped stitches are just, they're different. If you would look at mine and look at the ones in that, it's definitely different. It's similar, but different. Plus, I did the repeats at a different interval than the original pattern called for. So anyway, it's, to me, I feel like it's sort of its own pattern at this point, and I may very well write it up because I've had people ask about it. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. But anyway, here's the one I ended up making. I showed you last time I was going to make it out of Falmouth. I can never pronounce that right. This is the Falmouth colorway from my Antigua collection in the Megga base, and I love the colors. I absolutely loved how the colors turned out, and it was great having a sample of this type of dye technique to show people at the show. However, there was operator error involved in this, which is kind of sad when it's your own pattern. It wasn't really the pattern that I goofed up, though. It was the needle choice that I used. For the first 3 that I made, the first 2, the blue one and the green one, I used a US 10.5, which is a 6.5 millimeter needle, a 32-inch circular. Either 24 or 32, I don't remember. But it was, you know, big enough to have the cowl go around comfortably. The gray one, which was the 3rd one I did, I had gone up to a US 11. I don't think I did that on purpose necessarily. It was probably just what I had. And that was a US 8. Now that's a big jump from 6.5 to 8 millimeters. Yeah, that's what I meant. I don't think I said that correctly the first time. A US 11 is 8 millimeters. A US 10.5 is 6.5 millimeters. That's a big size jump. However, the US 11 I used was, again, a 32-inch circumference circular. So it was very comfortable to have this fabric working its way around on that. Well, for whatever reason, when I was grabbing what I needed for this cowl to take with me, I grabbed a US 11. I grabbed a 40-inch circular. Like, why in the world would I do that? I don't know. So it was very, very tight on here as I was working it. So the fabric was being pulled, and it definitely affected gauge. In fact, I'm going to show you. Okay, so here's the gray one that I did on a US 11 on a shorter circular, and here's this one. Same yarn. Same yarn. Do you see how different that gauge is? And that's the only difference. And it made a huge difference because I just was not able to knit it as tightly as I could have on a more comfortable length of a circular cable. This one, you can, like, there's between the 2 slip stitch rounds or rows, like, okay, so here we go. Slip stitch, there's a purl between there, and then there's a double purl, or 2 purls in between each of these sets of slip stitch cable or rows, but you can see it. They're really well defined in this one. This one, it is not well defined at all. Like, you have to pull it to see that there's that purl stitch in between there. So I was frustrated. Like, I finished this in the car the 2nd day we were driving. When we went from, yeah, it was a shorter drive day, but I managed to get this finished because it wasn't a long project. It was just, I was frustrated because I knew it was turning out differently, and I couldn't think of what the issue would be. I never thought that the cable length would cause this much of a difference because I guess I just did not take into account how much it changes the fabric structure, having to put that much tension on your fabric as you're knitting it. So that was a very interesting lesson to learn. I believe what I will do, even though I did use this for my show, and I used it as a table sample, and it was fine, I think I'm going to rip it out, and I'm going to re-knit it using a more appropriate needle, because I would really like it to look like this. It lays much more nicely like this than it does this. I mean, it's fine. It's just, it's super big and bulky. This one is a little bit more tame as far as how it lays. So I guess, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just not what I intended for it. So I think I am going to redo it. The really funny part to this was, like I said, I was kind of going around at the last minute grabbing stuff that I knew I needed to take. And the one thing I forgot to bring with me was a button for the cowl. And I got up to Bill's, or up to our mountain house the night before we left, because we left from there, and I said, oh, I forgot a button. We're going to have to stop at a Joann's or something so I can get a button. He's like, I've got a whole bunch of buttons. So he went and pulled out this whole bag of buttons, and there was indeed a button in there that worked perfectly fine. So yay for my husband and his bag of buttons. So anyway, but it was a finished project, and I love how the yarn knit up. So I was excited to have that. So those are all of my finished objects, but I worked on a lot of stuff. I mean, I was knitting a whole bunch on this trip, and I've got things to show you that you have not seen in a while either. Aside from these things, I would say the thing that I worked the most on while we were gone was the Granny Stripes blanket, without fail. And I will show you that in a little bit. I'm going to show you everything else first. I was just, that was my zone. I was just on that, and it was easy and relaxing, and so I worked a lot on that. But the other knitting thing, I did take another pair of socks, but the socks I worked on actually the most were these. And you haven't seen these in a really long time, and this is the Pixel Rise socks. Remember these? It's the Pixel Rise pattern by Kemper Ray. I stalled out on these. Like, I was down to about here. I was like halfway through this bluish section, and I knew the cuff was getting to a point where I needed to know where I was going to be putting my afterthought heeling, but what I hadn't done is I had not fully read the pattern yet, and I was just baffled about how the rest of the sock was going to go, because I knew that this stranded work was supposed to still go on to the foot, like the top of the foot showed that in the pictures. And I thought, how in the world would you do that without it either being really futzy or without just continuing in the round the whole way down the foot, which, I'm sorry, I could not wear stranded knitting on the bottom of my foot. That would be super uncomfortable for me. So I just sort of sat it aside, and that was the main reason that I did not work on it for quite a few months. But then I pulled it out because it's actually been sitting in the bottom little cubby of my nightstand up at the mountain house, and I pulled it out when I was packing and looked at it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this with me. And I looked at the pattern at that point, and I realized, indeed, it is written to do the stranded work the whole way down the foot, and I thought, I'm not doing that. So I decided instead to use this fuchsia, my Fiber Nymph Dye Works fuchsia, in the bounce space for the foot portion. So it's just going to be a solid colored foot, and then I will use one of these colors for the afterthought heel and one of these colors for the toe. I will like it so much better. Yeah, I couldn't do the stranding on the foot. So anyway, at this point, these are going to be extremely long cuff socks because I had worked so far into this before I made this decision that I'm sort of committed to having my sock be this long, because I'm certainly not ripping out what I already have. So to the bottom of this color work right now is about 9 inches. So I have a little progress keeper that I stuck in here right around the 9 1/4 inch mark. I don't know, 9 1/4, 9 1/2, I don't know, somewhere around there. And that's where I'll put my afterthought heel in. So my cuff is going to be over 9 inches long. I'm not sure I've ever, okay, I won't say that. Those scrappy socks I made, they may have had 9-inch long cuffs. But I never, other than that, make socks this long. But I really like these, and I love how bright they are, and like the pink is eye-searing. The rest of these colors are from that that mini set that I had from Knitty and Color that I used on my, yeah. Oh, what was it? That scarfy thing that I made that looks like little leaves on it. Oh my gosh. I can't remember. It's in my project page. You'll see it. It's white, and it has all these colors as the little leaves and the stripes. It'll come to me. Anyway, so this is where I'm at on this, and this is actually what I sat and I knit on during the show. I always like to have something that I can work on, something easy while I'm at a show. So that had progress, and I'm really glad with what I decided to do with that, because there for a while I was thinking, yeah, do I even want to finish this sock? Maybe I'll just use the yarn and make something else with it. But I'm really glad I'm doing this. I think it'll be a fun, very bright sock, pair of socks. So anyway, so I worked on, I worked on those. The other thing I took with me, but I actually did not work on at all, was the hoodwinked socks. But I did work on them since I've been home. So these are my staggered rib pattern, which I've not written the pattern up, but I've made. This is the third pair now that I'm making using the staggered rib patterning that you can see there. And the colorway is hoodwinked, and the yarn, oh, do I have the tag in here? I don't. Crud. Sorry, I just want to be able to tell you who the yarn is by, because I'm not. Oh, the Flying Kettle. And it's, I believe, her Caspertine base. The tag that came with my socks did not have a base name on it, but based on the bases that she has cataloged in Ravelry, I'm pretty sure it's Caspertine. At any rate, that's an 80-10-10 merino nylon cashmere yarn, by the way. And this is the hoodwinked colorway, and I love it. The last time you saw it, I was on, I'm trying to get my, there we go, my screen back. I was on the heel flap, so I put this marker in. I was just about here, so I finished the heel flap, I've done the heel turn, and I'm now working on my gusset decreases on the first sock. So it's coming along again. I don't know why. I had it with me, but I just was not in the mood to work on it while I was away. So whatever. It's the only thing I took with me that I didn't work on or finish. So I think that's pretty good. Okay, so from this point on, I think almost everything except the Granny Stripes blanket is stuff I have to show you that you have not seen in a while. First of all is another pair of socks. And this is the socks that, this is the pair of socks that was my 9-inch circular experiment socks. Yeah. I've transferred them to a regular, longer cabled circular because I realized I was never going to finish these if they were on that little 9-inch circular. It was just not enjoyable. And I am all for trying new things and learning to do new things, but I gave this a good try. I mean, I've got how many inches here? Like 5 inches, probably a little more than 5 inches. I think I measured it. I gave it a good old college try, and I just don't like it. And you know, I'm looking at it and there's so many irregularities in my stitches from just not being able to find a comfortable way to hold that little tiny circular over a long period of time. I mean, I'd get into a little bit of a groove and then it would fall away, and yeah, I will finish them now that they are on a regular circular needle and I can magic loop them. But you know, there's no one thing that works for everybody. And I know there are some people who love the 9-inch circular sock knitting. It's just not my jam. So I would like to actually pass on that set of 9-inch circular needles. They're Haya 9-inch circulars, 1.5, US 1.5 needles. That I was gifted during the Instagram Get Your Yarny Wish Granted. It was one of the wishes someone granted for me. And so I would love to pass that set of needles on. I'm not going to do a drawing for them. They're just one set of needles. So what I will do is, if anybody that is watching is interested in them, please post in the episode thread or PM me on Ravelry. The first person I hear from who sends me their mailing address, I will send them to. I would prefer that you be in the US though for this, if you wouldn't mind. I don't usually have that as an issue, but for these little needles, I would really prefer it just be a US thing, so I can just ship them out real fast in an envelope and be done with it. Anyway, I don't know that I still have the little Haya bag that they came in. If I do and I can find it, I will put them in that. Otherwise, they'll just come to you in an envelope. So anyway, and this is Patton's Croy, by the way, the yarn. I don't remember what colorway. It's on my project page. I'm sorry, I didn't think to look that up, but it's a really pretty blue and purple variegated yarn. So, okay. And it's funny because that's all I did to it this morning. I picked it up and I switched the needles. I haven't knit on it at all. I just did the one round to get it off the little needles and onto the longer cable. So, but now that it's like that, I can work on it. Matter of fact, Chris, my son, and I are going to a movie on Friday evening, so I will probably take those with me and work on them. Okay, so there was that. Oh, another thing. This is very exciting. My Antler cardigan. Now note that it was not in the finished object part of the podcast. It's not finished. But I did pull it out this morning and I made progress on it. So let's see, where are we? I finished reknitting the bottom band. Where is the bottom band? Here it is. I have a bottom band again. If you will remember, I had finished the cardigan except for the button bands. And I had knit one of the button bands. And the button band was all weird and fluty and just, it wasn't right. I put too many stitches in. I did it according to the pattern directions, but they called for more stitches than I would normally use for doing a button band. So I ripped that out. But at the same time, this sweater was about 5 inches too long on me. I believe. It was either 5 inches too long or I had to take 5 inches out so that I could get it to the right length. I don't remember which. Whichever, it was too long, and so I cut it off and I just reknit the bottom band 2 inches. Length is perfect now. And it looks so good. That's the thing. I tried it on this morning after I finished the bottom band, and before I started, I have the first button band going again, so it's there. Couple rows. I looked at it and it's like, I love it. I love how this fits. It's going to be a perfect, wonderful sweater once it's done. I just, you know, it's one of those things that it was causing me so many problems. Not so many. That's the thing. It actually knit up very, very well. It was not a difficult project. It was just I was frustrated with it by the time it was too long and my button band was all wonky and everything. And so it just got put in timeout, as projects tend to get sometimes. But it's back on the needles, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to finish this hopefully before you see me again next week. And this I'm knitting out of Cascade 220 in the Aspen colorway, Aspen Heathers. It's one of the Heathers colorways, and it's the Antler cardigan by Tin Can Knits. So, okay, what else? Oh, okay, we're finally down to the last project, the one that I've been referring to multiple times. And that is my Granny Stripes blanket. Oh my gosh, this project just continues to bring me so much joy. It's getting huge, let me tell you. The fact that I was still working on this in the car is kind of crazy. But it's all folded up, and I'm not going to open it up because it's just getting too unwieldy to do that. But here's how long it is. It's at about, well, the last time I counted, I was at like 75 rows. I think I've done a few more since then. And the last time I measured it, it was right around 20 inches. So it might be a little over 20 inches now. But that does put it like over a quarter of the way finished. So I'm excited about that. I'm still working through the minis I have, and I've got quite a few in here. Some of the bigger minis, I'm going so long and then I'm breaking the yarn because I don't want super big chunks of the same yarn. So I'm putting those in a separate baggie. Oh, here's what I had left of the sock blank. So a little bit more than this because, like I said, I used some in the blanket. Anyway, so those are ones that have already been used, and I'll use them again at some other point in the blanket. These are ones I have not yet used. And I have more in my bedroom, I believe, that I had set aside for the mini granny square blanket I was working on. I may even have some in that bag, so I'm gonna have to go around and raid everything. I mean, I realize I'm nowhere close to being out of minis, but I'd like to just round them all up so that I know what I do have. In the meantime, if you are one of the people who responded to me after my last podcast about wanting to do a mini swap with me, thank you. I think I heard from maybe 8 people total. It might have been 9. I don't know. But I'm going to be in touch with you in the next few days because I do really, really want to do that. So hang tight. I will be in touch. And I would love to swap with you. Remember, this is just an individual swap. You're swapping with me, nobody else. I'm swapping with you and 9 or 8 other people, essentially, just to help me get it's all about me. I mean, you're welcome to swap with other people if you want to, but I'm coordinating this basically for my benefit. That sounds so selfish, and I don't mean it to. It's just that at this point, I'm breaking up full skeins of yarn. So if I'm going to do that, I want to be able to give it to more than one person, and obviously I don't need a full skein of yarn for minis. You know what I mean? So I'm going to use one of the minis for me, and then I'd like to share the wealth with 9 other people, and then you guys can trade whatever you have that you aren't using with me. That's all. I'm not meaning for this to sound selfish. I just don't have the brain power or the energy at all to coordinate a large group swap. I just can't do it. I don't have that time. I'm sorry. If somebody else ever wants to coordinate some sort of swap or whatever, get in touch with me. I don't have a problem with the group doing a swap. I just don't want to have to be in charge of it. Okay. Let's see. What else? Spinning. Obviously, I didn't really do a whole lot of spinning. I don't usually take spindles with me when I travel, and I didn't this time either. When we got home the other day, I had a little bit of downtime where I just wanted to sit, and my brain was too tired to think about much of anything else. So I did pull out the Blue BFL spinning project that I'm working on my Traveler up at the mountain house, and I spun on that maybe for about a half hour while I was trying to make dinner, so I was hopping up and down. And that's about it. Nothing really notable to show you there, but at least it got worked on. My stitches, my Year of Stitches project. I regret to inform you that I did fall off the wagon after day 26. I know. I am disappointed in myself, but I'll tell you what. That was at the point that we were at Disney, and I think the 26th was Thursday, yeah. And that was after our first day at Disney. By the second day, and after setting up for the show, I was just tired. I just couldn't. I had nothing left in me. And I was pretty much tired for the rest of the trip, too. But I did do some, and I can't at this point honestly remember what I've done and what I haven't done. If you look at my Instagram, if you follow me there, you'll be able to see what I did each day. I know up here I started doing, these are supposed to be Minnie Mouse ears. I have the little red bow and the ear outline. I never got to fill in the ears. I need to do that. I believe the carrot is new because I had carrot cake one day. I think this doodad here, I'm sorry, it's so hard to do looking the other way. That's new. I'm not sure. I think these are new, and maybe my raindrops and clouds are new because we drove through a whole lot of rain the first day we drove. So anyway, I will get back to it. I'm not abandoning it for the year, but I'm also not letting myself feel guilty for having stopped and having not done it, because that's not what this is about. I mean, sure, it would be great if I would have done it every single day for 365 days, but I'm not beating myself up over it. It's supposed to be fun. Something fun that I did do, we did actually end up at a Joann Fabrics while we were away, not to get a button, but just because there was one there down near my mom's, and I'm like, hey, I want to run in there. I wanted to look for variegated DMC floss because I don't have any. And so I did. I found a box of it. So this is a DMC, I don't know, the Panache multicolor variegated collection. I'm not even sure how many are in here. Does it say? Oh, 18. So anyway, I have obviously not done anything with them yet, like put them on cards or anything like that. But I'm looking forward to using these because I think variegated colors will be fun. And I bought myself a whole package of needles because I have been carefully using this one needle. I know I have more around here somewhere, but I was just so afraid that I was going to lose that one needle while we were away. And then I wouldn't have been able to work on it either. So now I'm well set for needles and floss. Okay. And I picked up a couple extra containers of chibi needles too, because I'm constantly looking for those. Those are one of those notions that you know you have a million of and you can never find them, at least if you're like me. That and like measuring tapes. I can never find them when I need them. I know I've got a whole stash of them, but The other new thing I got that was totally unexpected. Okay, where is it now? Oh, here it is. It was a gift, actually, from a viewer who came to my booth at the show, and he gave me a bag full of happiness. This is Dennis. Dennis, if you're watching, hello, and thank you again, and it was wonderful meeting you. He makes project bags. He does not sell them, at least like he doesn't have an Etsy shop. I believe he said like he posts them, I think, on Instagram, and that if people want to buy them, he sells them that way, but he doesn't want the pressure of a shop, which I totally get, but he does lovely work. So he gave me a bag, not just with one bag in it, but with 4. I mean, crazy generous, just wonderful. Anyway, he said he wanted to give these to me and I was welcome to keep one and use the rest for whatever I wanted to. And actually the very first one in there, he said he made this specifically with me in mind after I had talked about the mountain house and I did that mountain house winter colorway. He just thought that this was very similar to that, and it reminded him of me and my colorway, and I just was so touched by that. And it's perfect. It's beautiful. And I love it. So it's a Christmassy bag, but you know what? I'll use them all year round. I use my Christmas bags and winter bags all year, so I don't care. But anyway, it's lovely. So it's got a green zipper, and it's got this really pretty blue and white kind of snowy looking fabric on the inside. So I have a new project bag. Thank you. Again, Dennis, thank you. And it's so well made. Oh my gosh. I told him I have never yet had the guts to tackle making project bags that involve zippers and gussets and stuff like that. But anyway, there's 3 more here, which I'll show you real quick. There's this really pretty bright springy one. And then there's this darker butterfly one. And then there is this really pretty ferny, almost fall colored ferns. So I'm going to hang on to these, and these are going to be prizes that we will use during a year in the life knit along. I will probably hang on to these bags for the quarterly drawings. So anyway, I'm just so thrilled to have them. And again, I so appreciate your kindness, Dennis. Thank you. Let's see, I think that actually brings us to the knit along now. I know that was like a lot of knitting, 37 minutes worth of knitting. I never have 37 minutes worth of knitting, but I did today. Okay, so a year in the life of a knitter knit along. It's our year-long knit along, and we are through the first month. So the first month is done, January is over, and I have prizes. Now, last time I explained to you how prizes were going to work. I said I was going to offer up 1 prize for every 50 posts in the quarterly chatter thread for that month. So for January, we had posts 1 through 233. Now I'm subtracting out my posts. I had 27 posts in there, so that left 203. But if you divide that by 50, that still gives us 4. So we have 4 prizes to award today. And how I said I was going to do it is what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 5 prizes. I'm always going to include 1 more than what I'm awarding, and they will be first come, first serve. So as I announce the winners, if you're one of them, please PM me as soon as you hear this and let me know what your first, second, third, and fourth choice prize is. And then I will be happy to get that prize to you. And if it's something that is physical that I need to mail to you, please include your full name and mailing address as well. So, okay, I'm going to award these prizes now, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the knit along. So, last time I told you about 3 prizes, but we've since gotten enough posts that there will be 4 prizes and not 2. So I've got some extra prizes. But the first one that I showed you last week was, let me get to it, this Lorna's Laces, the Shepherd Worsted. And this is in the Roadside Jerry colorway. So this is one of the prizes. Another prize is fiber from me, and this is BFL and Tussa Silk in the Fire colorway. And again, if you choose the fiber, I will be happy to spin it for you if you're not a spinner. But if you are a spinner, then I'll be happy to send you the fiber. The third prize I mentioned last time was $10 worth of patterns that are giftable through Ravelry. And the 2 prizes that I'm adding this week to the mix are, one of them is a Color Tracks hat kit from my shop. The pattern is by Melissa Transtrom, who's Meltran Designs, and it's in the black and scarlet color combination. So you will get the yarn and the pattern, the code to download the pattern if you're the winner, if you choose this as your prize. And lastly, and I know this might seem a little strange, but I've been going through a lot of my knitted items that I've made over the years, recent years, like not super old stuff. And I do have some things that I love knitting and they were so much fun, but I just don't wear, and I would really like to have them have better homes. So I'm adding a knitted garment to this. It's really an accessory. It's not a garment, but this is a prize. So this is a potato chip scarf. I wanted to knit it just for the experience of knitting a potato chip scarf because I'd never made one. It's a short scarf, so be aware of that, but it definitely would be long enough to kind of double over and put inside the top of a coat. It's just super fun, but I don't wear it. Because it's shorter, I tend to like longer scarves or cowls, but it's a fun scarf. The yarn that I used was Spinning Fates in their Calliope base, and the colorway is Blue Jeans, and I absolutely love this colorway. I actually really thought about just ripping this out so I could reuse the yarn since I don't actually use the scarf, but I thought instead I would offer it up to you guys as a prize, and sometimes it's fun to get something that's already knitted, you know? Anyway, so those are the 5 prizes available for this month. So I am going to now announce the winners. Please let me know which prize is your top choice, and then feel free to give me choices 2, 3, and 4. That way, if somebody else has already claimed one of them, I'll know which one you want. And we're just going to go like that. First come, first serve. So, in no particular order, the winners this month for January were post 233, which is Betty for fiber. So congratulations, Betty. The second one was, and these were all done by random number generator, of course. The second prize winner is number 104, and that is DBHCC, who is Anna. So please PM me, Anna. Congratulations. The third prize winner is post number 87, and that is WMH302, who is Wendy. Wendy, congratulations. Thank you. Please PM me. And lastly, it's number 192, who is Iona Paint, and that is Christine. So congratulations, Christine, and Betty, and Anna, and Wendy. Thank you for taking part in this knit along through the month of January. Again, all of these prizes are being drawn from the winter quarterly thread for the knit along. So for February, I will choose posts beginning from post number 233 or 234, because 233 was the last one for January. So 234 will be the first one of February, and we will go from there. Quarterly, let me talk quarterly now. When I do the quarterly prize drawings, I'm not going to be doing it the same way that I'm doing the monthly ones. The monthly ones, like I said, I'll offer up one prize for every 50 posts. I can't do that for the quarterly ones. I'm still thinking about what I want to do for the quarterly drawings, but I can tell you that those awesome project bags are going to show up in quarterly drawings. But more on that closer to the end of this first quarter. I've got a little bit of time. But anyway, now that we are in February, just remember that our season is still winter. Our themes are still warmth, coziness, and home. And the yarn focus for February, though, is Aran weight and worsted weight. Again, you don't have to knit with Aran or worsted for the month of February. It's just a suggestion. It's a challenge. If it's a weight, those are weights that you don't typically use. Maybe try them out this time. And we'll go from there. I do have another element kind of in mind for February. It'll be kind of like a short little burst of a thing that we might add in here, but I'll tell you more about that the next time I record. Just giving you a heads up. So, okay, I think that's everything I wanted to tell you about for the knit along. Again, winners, please PM me with your prize choices. Okay. That moves us on to 10%, and I have a lot to tell you there too, and I'm at 45 minutes and I still need to do shop update stuff, so I'm going to try to make this brief. Basically, it's just my Florida trip recap. We left on Saturday the 21st, heading towards Florida with our ultimate destination being Disney, so that I could vend at the Magical Fiber Fantasy Retreat, but we had a lot of stuff planned in between here and there, and then again on the way home. So we left Saturday the 21st and we headed to Jacksonville, North Carolina, where we visited with my oldest son and his girlfriend and her kids. We all went out to dinner, and that was a lot of fun to see him because his birthday was then a few days later, so it was kind of like an early birthday celebration, so that was nice. And then we spent the night in Jacksonville, and we actually met up with him again in the morning and had breakfast before we hit the road, so that was nice. I got my IHOP fix. It's usually the only time I ever get to go to IHOP is when I'm down in Jacksonville. Not that there aren't IHOPs other places, it just seems to be that's where I end up eating at IHOP, usually with my son. So then Sunday we hit the road and we went to my mom's, and that was a lot of fun too. I mean, I had just seen her. She was home over Thanksgiving, but it was still really nice to be there and just get to spend time with her because, like I said, we were there from Sunday. We got there like right around, actually we got there right as the Steelers game was starting, and she had us locked out, and like I thought, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to wait till halftime before she unlocks the door. She just didn't realize we were gonna be there right when we got there. So we got there Sunday evening, and then we went home. We went home. We left around lunchtime on Wednesday, but in between we hung out. Like I said, I did a lot of knitting. It was kind of rainy and windy the first day we were there, so Tuesday though was pretty nice, and we went and got to walk on the beach, and you know, we went out to dinner a bunch, and it was nice. It was a good relaxing time, and always good to see my mom. So then we headed down to Orlando to Disney on Wednesday afternoon, and we got there. I had reserved a room for us at the All-Star Movies Resort. I don't know a whole lot about Disney at all, so my daughter was the one who was kind of helping guide me when I was making all our plans. She and her girlfriend had stayed at one of the All-Star resorts, and she says, oh, they're really nice and they're super affordable, and they were. It was a wonderful little room. We ended up doing Epcot on Thursday, and we did Animal Kingdom on Friday. We had our fast passes, which was fun. It wasn't super crowded, which was nice, and it also was not super hot. Matter of fact, Friday was quite chilly. Actually, Bill was freezing. He ended up having to buy a sweatshirt to put on top of what he already had on because he was super cold. I will say that in general, my impression of Disney, because let me preface this. Oh, well, hey, first, here. Let me become properly attired to talk to you about Disney. I had to buy them. I just could not buy these. They were just too cute. I should cut the tags off probably. But anyway, my overall impressions of Disney is that it is a very nice facility. Every place we were, it was very clean. Everything is very well done. I mean, even our hotel room, which, I mean, it was definitely not one of the most extravagant hotels that we stayed at, but it was super clean. It was very well kept. I did not see one piece of any kind of trash on the ground anywhere. Not in any of the parks, not at the hotel, nowhere. The bathrooms were basically immaculate everywhere we went. I mean, it was just amazing to me. I can understand from that aspect why people would choose to go on vacations there multiple times because it is a very, very nice resort. Everything is done fairly streamlined, which was nice while we were there because my reservation experience was not so streamlined and it felt very cumbersome to me. It could have just been me, but I don't know. I had issues. But once we were there, everything was very easy to do. You had your little magic band. You could just pay for stuff that way. That was awesome. Yeah, so we were very impressed with Disney, and our experiences were great. Nothing went wrong at all. It was really fun. The buses made it super easy to get to the parks. Yeah, I can't complain about anything. The rides were a lot of fun. The animals were great to see. Everybody was very polite who we talked to, you know, who worked there. I don't have anything bad to say about it. And it's just funny because we never took our kids to Disney when they were growing up. It was never a place that I really felt like, ooh, I must go there. But now that I had the opportunity was there, so we went. I mean, we both were just like, hey, this is pretty cool. So I don't know if we'll ever go back necessarily, specifically to go to Disney. But having had the opportunity, it was fun, and we're both glad we went. We had a good time. So that was Thursday and Friday. Friday evening, we did set up. We got to set up. And then Saturday was the market. It was a very nice hotel. It was held at the Swan. There were, I think, about 20 vendors there maybe. Some of them I've known before from other shows, and others were new to me. So that was really cool, getting to meet some new fibery vendors who were there. It was kind of a light crowd. I'm not sure what attributed to that. I mean, it was definitely, you know, the first year that they had done it, so maybe that had something to do with it. But overall, it was a pleasant day, and it was really nice to get to talk to people. You know, it always is. That's my favorite part of any show, is getting to talk to the people who come through the booth, and you know, if they watch the podcast or they, you know, have used my yarn before. I love getting to hear about that stuff. It's a lot of fun. So thank you to everybody who stopped by the booth. And thank you to Amy and Scooter Pie for organizing the whole thing. I'm sure you both are probably really exhausted at this point, having put all that work into that. But yeah, so that was the market. And then on Sunday we packed up and we started driving north, and we got to Charlotte, and we got to visit my daughter, who she gave me my Christmas present. She had bought me this hoodie for Christmas. Okay, I'm going to take the ears off now. We're out of Disney now. She bought me this hoodie for Christmas, and it was a little too small, so she took it back with her. I know, I'm playing with my bra straps again. I do this too often. But anyway, she exchanged it for the next size up, so she gave me my sweatshirt when we saw her, and I gave her the shirt that we bought her at Disney. Yeah, so we ate dinner. We went to Vapiano's. If you're in Charlotte and you like Italian, go to Vapiano's. It's really, really good. It's one of my favorite places to eat down there. It's like a cafeteria style Italian restaurant, but it's really like high-end Italian, not just like school cafeteria food, I guess. I don't know. They have a bar and everything. Really good. So we went there. We were only there for a little over an hour because we had to keep rolling. So I was sad that we couldn't spend more time with Emma, but I was glad we got to see her, at least for a little bit. So then we got back in the car and we started driving. At that point, we had about 6 hours to go before we would get home, which the GPS was telling us it was going to be almost 2 a.m. And as soon as we crossed the Virginia border, we hit heavy, oh my gosh, excuse me, I don't know why I'm like hiccuping, heavy wet snow. And I was driving at that point, and I was fine. I was going slow, and Bill like was looking at his phone at the forecast. He's like, we're going to have this the entire way home. He's like, just get off at the next exit and we'll get a room. And that's what we did. And it was a really good call. So I think we stopped like in Wytheville or something. So we spent the night, got a good night's sleep, got up, you know, and actually right by that point, I think we had maybe 5 hours to go. I don't remember. We did the rest of the drive on Monday. I mean, he had already been planning to be off work on Monday anyhow. And so we got home here, I guess, a little after 2. Not here, we got home to the mountain house a little after 2, which was nice because then we had the whole rest of the day to just kind of chill and unpack and get some laundry started and clean up after the cats, because even though we have somebody come in to take care of the cats and the fish and everything while we're gone, they still totally wreck the place when we're not there. Yeah, so anyway, that was that trip, and I'll tell you what, it was 10 days, and I love to travel, but 10 days is pushing it for me, especially when it's a trip where you're moving around constantly. Like if I'm someplace for 10 days and I don't have to keep going places, like new hotels or new, city to city to city like we did, that's a little bit better, but 10 days is pushing. Like by the weekend, I was ready to come home anyway. Plus, I was feeling drained. I'm still kind of feeling drained. I don't know if it's coming across, but I think a lot of that's just the travel and just kind of being fatigued by everything that's been in the media lately, which I'm just not even going to go into. But yeah, I'm a little tired. But anyway, it was a good trip. I'm glad we went. It was a lot of fun. And it's nice to be home. Guess that's the bottom line. It's always good to be home once you come back. Okay, I do have shop news, but I need to go and gather everything that I'm going to be putting in the shop. But just to let you know, the update is going to be on Friday, which is February 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. So give me a minute. Let me go get everything, and I will be right back, and then I'll show you that. If you're not sticking around, that's great. I'm fine with that. Like I have any recourse, right? I don't know. Anyway, I'll talk to you later, but hang on if you want to see what's going up in the shop. Okay, I'm back. Shop news. First of all, two quick things. The fiber club that I mentioned last time, trying to gauge if there was any interest, I did get positive feedback about that, so please stay tuned. I have not decided yet when I'm going to do it, but I do believe I will definitely be doing a fiber club in the not too distant future, so stay tuned for that, or more news about that. Second of all, I'm working on the Cold Snap and Snow Day pre-orders. I will say any skeins of those that I brought back from the show with me, I'm not putting in the shop since I do have outstanding pre-orders for those. Those are going to be going towards the pre-orders first before I die up anymore for the shop. But I do hope to do that within this month of February. So can be stay tuned for those colorways as well. Okay, now for the update. The update will be this coming Friday, which is February 3rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. I think I've mentioned this. I've got several shows coming up in the next few months. So I'm keeping the bulk of my show stock. I'm just keeping. I'm not going to put all of it into the shop like I usually would do over the course of 1 or 2 updates. I need to just keep that stock for right now. But what I did do is I pulled anything that was an orphan. I pulled anything that was seasonal, and in this case, a lot of Valentine's or Valentine's related colorways are specifically the seasonal things that I'm offering up, since this will be the last update I'll be doing before Valentine's Day and being able to ship them to you by Valentine's Day. And then a couple just other items that I decided to pull from stock that I'm going to put in the update. I'm going to show you most everything. There's a few like odds and ends that I did not pull out, so just check the shop page. I'm going to be hopefully getting everything uploaded and listed today while the podcast is processing. That's my goal anyway. But anyway, let's go and let me show you what I've got here. First of all, I'm going to show you the Valentine's colorways. Which I showed you last time. I did some Smitten, which is the variegated stripe of sweetness. It's just all on one skein. I did some of this on my heavier bases. So this is Smitten on Megga. Boy, the light is really blowing out. It's so hard to show these light colors. Okay, so that is Smitten on Megga, and then I have Smitten on Cozy, my worsted weight base. So those will be in the shop. And then I have Smitten on fingering weight bases as well. I've got it on Bedazzled and on Bounce. So that's Smitten. And then I do have some Sweetness as well on Bounce and Bedazzled. So Bounce, Bedazzled. So that's the one I showed you the sample of last time. Just like Snow Day, you'll have a white stripe, and then you'll have the speckled stripe, which in this case is all the pink and purple speckles. So, okay. Then I've got a couple skeins of Love Bug in Bounce. I pulled this one out, even though this is not specifically a Valentine's Day colorway, but the colors are very quite Valentine's-y because they're pink and purple. This is Candy Mountain. So there will be some Candy Mountain on Bounce in the shop as well. I pulled out this miscellany hat set. I've got a few of these in this white to pink gradient. 3 colors. And so you'll get the pattern code to download my miscellany hat. I know it's kind of, oh, there we go. That's better. It'll make either version. And then you get the yarn for it as well. So that's a fun Valentine's-y. Just, I don't know, pink. I know it's Valentine's-y, but I like pink just generally. Anyway, all right. So then I also have a couple of gradients I'm putting up. And the one is kind of a merge of my Love Bite and Love Bug colorways. And it's called Bitten by the Love Bug. It's a gradient. And this one is on Heavenly. So that's my MCN base. So I've got a couple of those. And this gradient is not at all Valentine's-y, but I'm pulling it from my show inventory just because it's on the Sunshine base. I kind of forgot that I had it in that stock. But I'm not dyeing Sunshine anymore. So since it's, you know, a discontinued base, I'm going to put it up in the shop. And it's in the Abalone colorway. So that's a gradient. Okay. Aside from that, a couple of winter colorways related things is the Mountain House colorway. So this is my Mountain House self-striping Mountain House winter colorway. These are both on Heavenly, the MCN base. So there'll be a couple skeins of that. And then I have a couple more sets of the Mountain House winter mini skeins. The mini skein sets. They went pretty quick the last time I had them in the shop. So there's a couple more there for you. Otherwise, I've got a couple inversibles. I've got the Navy and Hunter inversible, and I've got some purple and turquoise blue inversible. For some reason, I had a ton of these in my show inventory. I think I dyed more not realizing I already had some in my show inventory, so there were a lot. So I'm going to put some in the shop for you guys. As far as self-striping, I do have one skein of Cowl left. And this is not self-striping, but this is the colorway that I used for that big chunky cowl that I just showed you that I knit. Falmouth, gosh. But this is on Cozy, so this is a worsted weight version of that, not the bulky. Lastly, I've got sock blanks. I did up a bunch of sock blanks in these seasonal speckled colors that I'm doing. I did a couple, let's see, a couple in the Flurry colorway, so this is the wintry one. I have one on the non-sparkle and one on the sparkly base. So those are sock blanks for those. And then I have the Valentine's-y colorway ones. Smitten. Again, there's one on non-sparkle and there's one on sparkle. And then this is kind of like a preview of what I'll have in like the next update after this one. This is going to be a new St. Patrick's Day color. It's called I Feel Lucky. So this is, again, similar speckles with the green and the white. I really like how this turned out. And I will have some self-striping that goes along with this next time, not this time. But I do have one of these sock blanks left, so I wanted to put it in now. And then the last sock blank is not specifically Valentine's, but it's speckled in a lot of fun pinks and purples, and it's an all-over speckle. So anyway, I'll put that in the shop for you too. That's everything. Unless I find a few, well, it's not everything. I told you I have a few other things. There's a couple things of fiber and Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of other things. I think I might have another miscellaneous hat set. Just again, like the orphans, the things that I pulled out of the shop because there's just one of them, or seasonally they might not be appropriate anymore. But anyway, check the whole shop preview once it's up. Like I said, it should be up hopefully by the end of today. If not, definitely by Friday morning at the very latest. So anyway, if you have any questions, please just PM me on Ravelry or email me, fibernymph@gmail.com, or you can post in the episode thread and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I feel like I kind of flew through that shop news segment, but this is going to be a long podcast once I put these two pieces together, and my throat is starting to get kind of funky because I need to drink some water. So I'm going to go and stop talking, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you again next week. Take care. Bye.